Welcome back. Previously, I had finished wiring up most of the lights, and I did finish them up. Now, I am continuing on with the electrical work. I am cutting out a new outlet box, and I will insert a Reno box into this new hole, and that way I can put lights inside my closet. So first, I installed the switch box on the outside of the closet. And now I am going to be running, kind of jumping between the attic and the ceiling of the closet because I want to make sure I don't hit any studs or joists or anything that could be in my way. So I need to figure out which orientation and which location I would like to put the outlet. Because to keep things simple, by just putting an outlet on the ceiling, I can then plug in an LED strip around here and it'll give a nice finished look that will be out of the way and function off of that light switch. So I've made all my measurements, I've done all my checks, I used a stud finder to make sure I wasn't going to hit anything. Crawling into the attic, I can verify. I even started off by running a screw straight through the ceiling, which I think I'm doing right there. And then I go up top because I was getting kind of interesting feedback, and that really helped me understand where I should put my box. And then I was able to go ahead and start cutting out with my oscillator, my multi-tool, and that gave me the perfect spot, the perfect space for my box. Once you have your boxes in place, you pull the Reno boxes back out, and then you can fish your Romex through the wall. I was able to run it up the wall into the attic, and then back down the wall, and then over to the switch. And this way I could kind of run everything where I wanted them. Then you put your Reno boxes back in, fishing them through the Romex. They typically, I think code is to leave 6 inches exposed, so you leave that out. I usually cut it a little longer, and then when I'm doing my finishing touches, I come back and I cut it shorter. And then you can, once you have your length set, you have your box in, then you go through and I label all the Romex wires so I know which is which in case I have to do anything to it in the future. And then I come back through and I just kind of cut them to length and strip the wires down, and then I get it ready for wiring up whatever outlet or switch I put in there. Here you can see I'm really wrapping it up. I already have the new outlet in, put the faceplate on, and then it's time to go back out into the main room where I can actually put my switch. Since I have the outlet in the closet, now I have to put a regular wall switch. You have to be careful with some of these wall switches, especially if you're going to use like a LED dimmable setup. You can't use some of those Lutron push on, push off. I like the clean, sleek look of those, but they don't work with dimmable LEDs like that, so you need to do a toggle. So I have a sleek looking toggle here, and I use the Wago lever nuts. I like Wago lever nuts. It makes wiring easy. I'm fine with using the traditional wire nuts. I just don't like them as much, so I got the Wago. And here I am just making sure all the wires are free and clear. Nothing's touching nothing. And I'm gonna get the faceplate on, and this switch is done. All right, it's pretty sweet. So it's just mocked up right now. You can see I don't have the outlet installed how it should, but I am pretty excited right now. So I was experimenting with the wiring to get the lights and the fan on. So lights are on, I turn the lights off, they're slow off, slow back on, but we got the night light mode, which you can also brighten up if you want, or you can dim it down, real dim if you want some cool night mode, and then you go back to off. Then you got your bright mode, and even these lights, these are the downward lights, and then I can dim these guys down too to make them dim. So this is pretty spiffy, but on, oops, lights off. Night light mode, off, lights on. But even aside from that, one of the things I did, because I had to rewire this outlet, and you can see that that outlet is wired correctly. So that's good. And then I put this switch here, and then I have this outlet up in my closet. So when I go and flip this light, to amber is correct. So this is ready for my LED light switch. Now I just need to check if there's any way in hell I can get all these wires inside this shallow box. I might have to change to a deep well box or something, or rerun this one, because this goes over
and up and adds run extra Romex. I might have to rip that box out and run it straight into the attic, into the junction box I got up there. But, oh, this is pretty sweet. I got all the lights done. I finally got the box finished. I need to get another cover plate, but getting that box done was kind of annoying because I had so many Romexes in there. I had to make sure I didn't have too many. And I thought about taking the power because this switch powers that outlet down there. And I thought about running it straight up and avoiding that box. But I ended up chiseling out part of the stud in the wall, and I got a bigger expanded box inside of there. And with that change, I was able to get it all in there. So it fits good. Now, it's time to get to that fan. I'm reading through the box right now. Shouldn't be too bad. We have a functioning fan. So it looks kind of weird from the angle of the picture, but it's 100% normal functioning fan. Got all 6 lights working, and got it going off of the new light switch. So we got your light for the ceiling light, and you got your fan controls with your speed control and your dimmer. So I am very happy. Now to go on to the ceiling.
When we had started this project, we were only planning to do the 6 cans and to do a ceiling fan in the center. After all of that was done and planned out, my wife had the idea that we should do a faux coffered ceiling. So this was kind of an after idea, afterthought. So the spacing of the lights was perfect for the ceiling itself, but it was not set up for the coffered. So we had to redo the math and then go plan out our coffered ceiling. Now we're picking out wood and trying to figure out what design and what kind of style we want for this faux coffered ceiling.
So we've been jumping around Menards, Home Depot. Those are the 2 local hardware stores in our city, our town, and trying to look. And I think these are going to be the boards I get. I need these boards for building our faux coffered ceiling, our decorative ceiling, and everything's just so damn expensive. These boards are $15 a piece, and then I found another board down there that was good that's $26 a piece. And when we were looking at Menards, they didn't have anything that I liked at all. They had good trim, so I bought trim from Menards, but I think I'm going to get my actual boards from here. But it's whatever. Everything's just expensive these days.
I'm getting 16-foot boards, so I don't have any scarp joints. This isn't the ideal way to transfer 16-foot boards, but if I drive carefully, this will get me home. Now that it's all planned out, we are going to do the framing of our coffered ceiling. We already measured up the first board and cut it to length. Then we go through and I added some panel bond caulk to it. Because this is always going to be pulled down by gravity, I want 2 things to make sure this doesn't sag over time. The first piece is using the panel bond to help it bond to the ceiling. The second thing is I did mark where the trusses were on the ceiling or wood. That way I could make sure that this really bites into some wood on top. So I'm using slightly longer nails than would technically be required, but I'm doing that so it goes through the wood I put up there and it goes through the drywall and it finds some wood in the ceiling on the other end. I'm using a laser tape measure to really measure my length across the room. There's my cutie pants daughter. This is going to be her room when we're all done. The boards are actually so long I have to run them through the window from the outside. They don't fish through the house. But here my wife is helping me hold up these 16-foot long boards. And we're going through, and like I said, we already caulked it. And we're looking for, I am using a stud finder to just verify where all the trusses are, so that way I can throw at least a couple nails into some trusses with the caulk to just really make sure this stays on the ceiling. I've seen some ceiling trim on certain houses done, and if you don't really bond it, it starts to sag over time and it just looks bad. But it's a lot to do. A lot of dancing around with your scaffolding and your ladders, but it's doable. It's just you definitely need a second set of hands, because to make sure that you can set it up the whole length of the room, it's tricky. But we're getting through and it's turning out very nicely. My wife's doing double duty because she's watching our 2 kids, and then she quickly runs in the room and helps me hold up the board and helps me with the nailing and the caulking, and then she runs back to watch her kids again. So it's quite the handful. Here's just an update of what the room looks like right now.
When your boards are way too long to snake through the hallway of your house. So you have to open up a window and pass it to your wife. Honey.
Now that you got the board cut to length and you already did a test fit, hold it up, kind of move around the fan. We already did our panel bond. I'm using a block of wood to help push up on the corner while she nails it up. And this way we get a really nice tight fitment between the two different end trim pieces, and this strip is done.
Well, we got the room trimmed in the border, and then we got the two long runs for the faux coffered ceiling we're doing. Now I set up a laser because I want to make sure that our runs going this way across are going to line up perfectly. So time to go cut those. Okay, well, done for the day. We got a party to go to for Halloween. Can't keep going, but we got the trim done, the outer trim done, the two long runs done, and I got this guy done. I set up the laser here and kind of got my straight edge. So all I gotta do yet, if I come over this way, is I gotta do another one. I can't point looking at the camera from there. That was terrible. Maybe if I do it this way. Yeah, I gotta go from there and run it backwards. So 3 more pieces of trim, and then it's inner trim, and we're good. So progress.
I am using a laser to make sure I'm getting this run across the room perfectly in line as I leapfrog the different trims. Still using panel bond and nailing it up. Working around the fan. I could have taken the fan down, but I don't know, I was lazy and I didn't. The coffered framing is done, and this is what the room looks like.
Well, we have 9 squares to trim, and then I got a whole thing to crown. But the first square is trimmed, and I think it looks pretty nice. Once this is all caulked up and painted, it should be pretty spiffy. I feel a little bad that I didn't center the lights in the rectangles, but the light positions are based off of Google's optimal offset from wall positioning. So I guess it's function over form.
I had gone and already taken all of the trim and cut them to length. I also always do a dry test fit before I finish installing anything. I'm continuing to use my panel bond to caulk to make sure everything bonds nice and tightly. In fact, this is such a tight fit that I can caulk and place it up there without even nailing it. Once I have it all in position, then I go back through and I nail it all in. Some of these were fit so nice that I didn't even need the caulk. I could place it up dry and it would stay in with the miter joint connections. But I'm very happy with how it's turning out. Then I just come through and I wipe down with a wet rag all the caulk that might be seeping out. And I continue. There was a total of 9 squares, so now we're in the middle. Again, I could have easily pulled down the ceiling fan, but I was just kind of being a little lazy. So I'm just working my way around the fan. It actually wasn't that big of a problem. That square wasn't that big, and it spins nicely as I just bump into it. Here's another update. You can see 6 of the 9 squares are done. What's a reason to pay attention to the wood you're buying when you're buying it? These are both at Menards, and I need to make miter joints to make these grooves match up. And look at the gap in this one, and then look at the gap right here in this one. These are the same wood, same trim, same part number, but it's a completely different part. This gap is wildly different. It would have looked terrible trying to miter these corners up. Had to get this 12-footer home with my 6.5-foot bed. So it's strapped to the hitch through the back window, and then I got it strapped to the oh shit handles. It'll work, it's not heavy. Hey, now you can see all 9 squares are all trimmed up and it looks great. All right, ceiling's all done up. We got the coffered part of it done. We got all the inner trim, all the lights are done, all of the fan. It's all looking good. We're really excited. So the next step here, other than filling, caulking, sanding, mudding, everything, there's a lot of finish work to finish up this coffered ceiling. But before we get to that part, I gotta do some crown. I don't know what kind of trim I want here, but I'm not happy with that edge. So I gotta crown that, then we can finish the ceiling. And then it's gonna be on to beadboard, chair rail, and new baseboard trim. So it's coming along, it's gonna be really nice. If you like the content on this channel, please like and subscribe. If you want to know more about the house projects and renovations, please leave a comment down below and I'll answer you. Thank you.